All right, so today we are going to continue kind of building up our background knowledge on our new units, and this is really going to be looking at the context in which the narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass takes place. And of course, we're talking about during the slavery time of the United States, in the United States history. So there are a few focus questions that we are going to look at during our work today, either with the images with our first activity, and during the second part of this. Good morning, Denasia. We are looking at the independent practice for today, and it's 113. So please open up that document. We are just getting started. So, but the three focus questions that we are going to look at is, why did slavery exist? Right? Pretty simple question, but it's really a pretty complicated answer as well. Right? Why did it exist in the first place? What was the purpose behind it? How did slaves come to the U.S.? Right? How did slaves even end up on this continent? And we're going to learn about that specifically in the text and in probably a couple of the images. And then, what was life like for enslaved Americans? What was their quality of life like? And we know that from our background knowledge already that a lot of times slaves were treated very poorly. But we're going to have a couple of images to look at. And again, there is going to be an excerpt from an article titled "The Slave Trade" that will give us a lot more in-depth kind of background knowledge on that. So this first activity that we're going to be looking at is we're going to be analyzing a series of images related to slavery and the slave trade. So once I post up the images, we're going to look at each image carefully, and we're just going to note what we see. And it could be any observation that you might make based off of your kind of perspective. Then you're going to draw conclusions. Basically, what kind of inferences can you make based off of those observations? And more often than not, you're going to answer these three focus questions. Why did slavery exist? How did slaves come to the U.S.? And what was life like for enslaved Americans? All right. What questions do we have so far? I will post the website in the chat so you guys can take a look at it. There are more than just the 4 images that we are going to be looking at, but for today's sake, for this lesson, we're just going to be looking at 4 images. All right. So what I would like to do is to take a look at the first image. And these are the 4 images that we're going to be looking at, but we're really going to be focusing on this first one. Oops. And I'm going to see if I can zoom in as far as I can. So this image is a little bit blurry, and I do have another image that I'm going to show you to you guys in just a second. And if you'll notice at the top, the heading here, it says regulated slave trade. So the slave trade itself did have some sort of regulation, right? So it wasn't just like this unfettered whatever, people could do literally whatever they want, but it was regulated to an extent. Obviously, that kind of sounds silly because the idea of owning somebody was a regulated institution, but it was. So this is the image that we're going to look at, and I'm also going to pull up another image as well. And this is probably going to be a little bit clearer. So this is a diagram of one of the slave ships, an example of a slave ship. So what I would like for you guys to do is to take 1 minute to look at it. And I want you to note what you observe. And again, I am going to be cold calling. So again, take a look at this. And what is one thing? I'm just going to be looking for a couple of observations from a few of you. We'll probably end up calling on 3 students. Here. So Ash, what is one observation that you can make about this image? What do you notice about this image? And again, you can either unmute your mic, or if you would like to put in the chat. One observation. What do you notice in this picture? And again, this is a diagram of what a typical slave ship would look like. I'll give you a moment to respond. All right, looks like it fit a lot of people. Exactly. So it looks like it could fit a lot of people. Absolutely. Absolutely. But it probably can't fit all of them. Yep, right. So they would have to make numerous trips. Absolutely. Good observation. Kaylee, what's another observation that you could make?
Is it a boat?
It is a boat. Yes, it is. It is a boat. Good. Absolutely. Do you have anything else that you want to add on, or you want to give me want me to give you a moment?
Yes, please. Just going to look at it a little closer.
Okay. Do you want me to come back to you?
You want to?
Okay. I can come back to you if you need a little bit more time.
Okay.
All right, Gretchen. What's another observation that you can make of this image? It looks like we can fit a lot of them. Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
Is it like a big ship or something?
Yeah, it's a huge ship. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely, it is a big ship. Yes.
What are those spikes?
The spikes.
Yeah.
What do you mean? These things here?
Mhm.
So those
are
are
people.
yeah, those are that's a diagram of the people. So basically every single one of these it represents a slave. So that is literally the way that they were transported over during the triangular trade, what is called the triangular trade.
Mister, I have one.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought it was
Caleb.
something else.
No. It's okay. That's okay. Good question though. Caleb, what do you have that you want to add on? And then we'll return back to Kaylee.
There are people in all sorts of directions.
Yeah, absolutely. So people are in different directions, and it's really so they can maximize their space. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, Kaylee, did you think of something?
Yes. It kind of looks like there's different sections of the boat.
Ooh, looks like there's different sections, right? Because it looks like there's a section here, there's a section there, so there's a smaller part here, bigger part over here, bigger pack towards the back end of the ship. Absolutely. Good. Why do you think? And I'm gonna pick a name for this because I don't, get some more voices. EJ. Why do you think whoever brought these slaves over, for example, why do you think they would try to fit as many slaves as they possibly could on that boat? Again, you can use the chat or you can unmute your mic.
Wait, Mr. Who did you call?
EJ.
Oh, okay.
They get more. Yeah, absolutely. So they could get more out of the trade. The more slaves that they have, the more money they would make. Exactly. And I do have a Mariana. Yeah, you got a question?
No, I just want to say that like they all are like all like stacked together, like
Yeah, they're almost like they're not
Squished.
necessarily stacked. Yeah, they're kind of squished together, right? So if they look like they're kind of squished together, how comfortable do you think that might be?
not comfortable
Very
at all.
uncomfortable.
Probably not comfortable at all.
Uncomfortable.
Absolutely, very uncomfortable. Exactly. So the kind of caption for this on the website says this diagram from around 1788 depicts the stowage capacities of the British slave ship Brooks. By packing slaves like sardines in a can, the ship owner was able to legally transport 454 individuals this way. So that goes along with that idea that there were regulations when it came to the slave trade, so they could legally transport 454 people. By pushing people up inside the legs of other slaves, so in other words, making them sit up with their knees almost to their chest and putting legs in between legs and things like that, captains could illegally increase their capacity by 35%. So you mathematicians out there, if you do some quick math, it brings it up to 600 plus, right? They could fit 600 plus individuals on a boat if they illegally put them in between each other. So some good observations there, everyone. Nice job, and thank you for your participation. So in our graphic organizer, we are going to type in our observations. So we observe that that the ships could fit a lot of people on them. Let's see, what else did we say? Different sections of the boat or ship. All right. What's another observation that we had made?
People in all sorts of directions.
Yeah, people.
And they're squeezed.
Placed in all sorts of directions.
And it's tight and very uncomfortable.
Yep, exactly. Yep, in all sorts of directions and tightly packed. We'll say tightly packed. Together. Whoops. Together. So those are some observations that we made. So we can conclude that the journey to America could not have been a very comfortable one. And the slave traders tried to fit as many as possible so they could get more out of the trade, like EJ had said. Exactly. All right. Excellent job. Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. So what questions do we have so far? What I would like for you all to do now, and I'm going to turn it over to you guys. I'm going to post the last 3 images, or I'm sorry, I'm going to post all 4 images at the same time, but you guys are going to complete the next 3 on your own. All right. So the remaining 3 pictures, there's one of a Virginia slave group, right? A group of slaves from Virginia. There's a picture of slaves working in a cotton field. And there is a picture of a slave's whip marks. And this one is probably one of the more iconic images that you will see regarding the history of slavery. It's one that's been published in many, many textbooks, and it's all over the place. It's a pretty harrowing picture, really. It really is. So what I'm going to ask for you guys to do is to look at those images, tell me what you observe, and then draw your conclusions from those observations that answer those 3 focus questions. And they were at the top. Why did slavery exist? How did slaves come to the U.S.? And what was life like for enslaved Americans? Okay.
Where are the pictures again?
I'm going to post them on here on my shared screen. So number 2 is up here. So it goes in order 1, 2, 3, 4. So 2, you would start here. So this is the group of
4 looks really bad.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4. So again, what you are going to do is you're going to look at these images, jot down your observations in the graphic organizer, and then draw your conclusions based on those observations that answer, more than likely, those 3 focus questions at the top of the sheet. All right.